joining us today. And this is going to be a journey on how to take your voice and make a bigger impact. And yes, make bigger revenue. It's an art and a science. It doesn't just happen, it is intentional. And I have one amazing, courageous, beautiful woman who took something that was very difficult and made herself get out there, get her voice out there, get her story out there. And now she is an in demand speaker who is really on her way to any heights that she wants to get to. So, welcome to the show, Betsy. It's Betsy Guerra. Do I say
Yes,
your last name right? Probably not.
yes, that's perfect. Betsy Guerra or
No.
Guerra, it's fine.
Okay, I don't have that beautiful way to say it, but Betsy, thank you for coming and sharing your precious, unrenewable resource, your time, with us today. And I just wanted to open up with what 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 made you go from the profession you were in to I'm going to step out. I'm going to get my voice out there. I'm going to make a difference in this world, and I'm going to become an in-demand speaker. Like what was the bridge that got you there?
The first answer that came to my mind was the Holy Spirit. Like God called me to do something, and for me it's God, for me it's the Holy Spirit. But for those of you who don't necessarily connect with that belief, there's this thing
That
inside of you
bigger calling kind of,
that
yes.
like just calls you, and it's almost like this feeling that like you cannot not do it. You can't die without doing it. But that calling came after a lot of resistance. I think that calling started a lot earlier than I was able and ready to listen to it. As you mentioned briefly, I experienced the most excruciating pain that a mom can feel. I think I think every pain is pain, right? Like, and it's valid and it's your pain, so it's the one that's the greatest. But for me, it was losing my daughter unexpectedly. I have four children, and one of them lives in heaven, and it happened as a result of an accident, a pool accident in my house, with me inside the pool with her, like
Mm,
unexplainable experience. And I I have a doctorate in psychology, so I had been in practice for almost 15 years at the time, and I was really good at what I did, and I walked the talk, and I took pride in that. And then this happened, and I didn't know how I was going to make it. I didn't know how I was going to be happy again. I didn't know how I could live without her. I didn't know, right? Like, and I remember thinking there was a moment of deep darkness the night that I came back from the hospital without my daughter. I remember, like, I finally managed to go to sleep, and I next thing I know is I woke up in the middle of the night, and I found myself on the bathroom floor rocking back and forth like a deranged woman, wanting to rip my head off because I couldn't stand. I couldn't stand the darkness of reality. And I remember at that point thinking, this is why people go crazy. I just can't. I cannot survive this. And at that moment, I realized that psychology is not enough. There's no doctorate in the world that prepares you for some pains that we go through as human beings. For me, it was the loss of my daughter, but for you, it may be divorce or a financial crisis or an illness or a problem with a child. It could be anything, right? And I I held on to faith. It's all I had that I thought could rescue me, right? So I held on to faith. And again, for me, it's faith in God, but it could be faith in the universe and in something, in your best self, in something greater that drives you. Faith in yourself, faith in the process, the journey, that pain is only the path, never the destination. Faith in others, those around helping and supporting you. Faith in something. If you have no faith, that's it. Hope is gone. But when you have faith, you have the hope that something, someone will allow you to rise above this.
Yes. Well, first and foremost, you have survived the unsurvivable, right? No parent ever foresees not going first. Like we should, it's the order of things, right? We should be the ones that go first, not our children, and certainly not your precious. I've seen pictures of her big smile, and she was so tiny. And I can't imagine. I really can't imagine. And you took that incredible, unthinkable pain, and you just said a quote that I've never heard. I don't know if it's your own,
It's
but if
mine. Pain is
it's
the path, never the destination. Yes.
I'm gonna
Travel.
utilize that quote in our promo of this episode. Pain is only the path, never the destination. If we could grasp that, because we're all going to have some form of loss, some form of tragedy in our lives. Hopefully, it's never our children, Dr. Betsy, and I can't imagine. I just really can't imagine, and I hope I never get to imagine. But the fact that you are that woman who would take that, you wouldn't be, of course you go through all the different, you go through anger, you go through what ifs, you know, all the things, but at the end of the day you decided, I'm going to take this doctorate that basically failed me when I needed it most, and package it in a way that can help other people who have to face the unimaginable. And you've done that, and it has struck a chord because you have a massive following, and you are a woman who is a sure bet, right? I'm going to bring Dr. Betsy onto my stage, and she's going to make a big difference in this room. So you go from that incredible tragedy. You see that the profession you had devoted your whole life to, becoming a doctor in psychology, wasn't enough. What was that next step that you took?
Living it, living it, allowing myself to live the process was the best doctorate and the best experience. And what helped me and has helped hundreds and thousands of people that I have supported was combining psychology, which has powerful tools and allows us to grasp and understand why we think, feel, and act the way we do, and combine it with faith, with spirituality, with that thing that's bigger and higher than yourself. And I didn't know this at the moment. I i do remember it all started with a decision, and that was the day after losing my daughter. I was sitting on the walk-in closet with my husband, hiding from the crowd that were there to support us.
Mhm.
And the priest who baptized my children, my background is Catholic, came to visit us, and he sat with us in the walk-in closet. And my husband asked desperately, Father, you've seen this before. Is it possible to be happy again? Can we be happy again? And he said, some people are, and some people are never happy again. Those who are never happy again are people who have connected suffering to love. The more
Mhm.
they loved, the more they must suffer because they honor through suffering. And the people who are happy again are those who choose a different way. They honor through love, service, and gratitude. And at that moment, Antoniette, I decided I was going to be like the latter people. I was going to honor my daughter through love, like service and gratitude. I was suffering is easy. It's normal. It's natural. It's organic. It was easy. What's not easy is getting out of bed when you feel like just staying there forever. Staying alive when you feel like taking your life is taking care of your family, your the rest of your kids, loving on your husband when you just want to be blah. So
Yes.
I'm gonna do that. And by deciding that, and I didn't know how I was gonna do that, but allowing the surrender in life to like guide me by faith, I discovered that combination of psychology and spirituality, because where psychology ends, where our human potential ends, spirituality, grace, greatness begins, right? Like you have this higher power like lift you past that wall of your limited potential, and transgrade, like like go beyond the boundaries of humanity. So
Yes.
once I learned that, I just couldn't keep it to myself. I started using it with my clients, and I started witnessing transformations and miracles, and they would invite me to speak, and I would never speak about my daughter. I think this is important for those of you listening, because it's in my head. I thought that speaking about her and monetizing my laws was wrong.
Mm.
How could I use my story of pain to, like, how could I talk about it and get paid for it?
Yeah.
So I would like mention it here and there, like very briefly, because it's part of my life. And when I would mention it, people would be like, tell me more. And as soon as they were engaged, I would start talking about my relationship, skills in psychology and communication and everything I had created in my my psychological competence thing, right? Like that part of you. And one day, my friend who was at the time my speaking coach was like, "What are you doing? What are you doing? Like, why? Like, what is that mindset of like, no, I can't talk about this and monetize this? Like, how dare I? How dare you not? So are you
Mm.
seeing what your people are asking for? They're engaged, and then you just leave them hanging, and you start talking about your brightness or the psychology thing you think you're so smart about." And she was really hard on me, and at that moment I was like, okay. And then the next time they invited me, I shared the story, and it was transformational for them, but probably more so for me. It was very healing for me.
Yes. So speaking was part of your healing journey.
Absolutely.
Powerful. You said so many
Absolutely.
powerful things just now. But one of the biggest is that you've bridged, I think you coined it, you call it a psycho spiritual approach,
Yes.
right? That is like it's either tangible or not tangible, right? Where we either swing one way or the other. But you're showing that there's a bridge between psychology, science, kind of the data, right, with maybe the more unexplainable. And
Absolutely.
what a brilliant priest that you had. I think you called him a priest, right? That would let you know you get to make a choice right now. You could either hold this to yourself. Um, oh gosh, what you said was just so powerful.
Honor
Basically,
through love, legacy, love, service, and gratitude.
well, connecting suffering to love. Like, I'm going to suffer so that there's no question that I loved my daughter. I'm going to suffer for the rest of my life. I'm going to keep it to myself. I'm going to become an angry woman, and nobody gets this part of my pain because it's mine, because I'm going to suffer, right? I've been through some things. And so I understand the easy, not through losing a child, honestly, that I don't think there's anything good that compares to that, honestly, that I it just is a testament to your faith, to your resilience, and to the fact, really a testament to your love to your other three children who needs all of you, right? And then to all those patients who needs all of Dr. Betsy, to those people in the audience who feel hopeless, who just don't even know they are going to pull their hair out or end their lives, whatever, direction they choose, unless they just hear something that they can hold on to or see somebody who has gone through the unthinkable and she's glowing, right? She's got an abundant life. So I love that you said, because we can't, they're like, this is my story. I'm going to keep it to myself. And you had a great coach who helped you realize it's not for you. That story, yes, it was your pain, and it's something that you will never fully transcend above, right? But that pain, you can make it something beautiful. And
And
so
Antoniette,
why not take that story and package it in a way that will help other people? Yeah.
speaking became the way I honored my daughter through love, service, and gratitude, ultimately.
Mm.
And and there's nothing I want more, and I think parents who've lost a child, or even whomever you've lost, right? Like, there's nothing we want more than honoring the memory and keeping the memory alive. and speaking became not just the way that I speaking is the way I honor my daughter, which is in and of itself healing and beautiful. And in case you're wondering, I became the happiest woman on earth. I wasn't just happy again. I became the happiest woman on earth because now I get to continue loving on my daughter through my purpose. It's
Mhm.
beautiful. And you have a story to tell that will impact others and heal and elevate you as well. But it also did something for other people. And that's that I am their priest that told them the thing that they needed to hear for them to make that decision that's going to elevate, transform their lives forever. So it's not, oh, who am I? Sometimes we come from a place of insecurity and unworthiness. Who am I to like talk about this? Who's gonna pay me to talk about this? Like, I always joke with my clients, like my husband would pay me to shut up and you guys pay me to speak? That's amazing. My husband adores me, but he could do a little less talking on my
A
behalf.
little ear
Yeah,
rest.
a little, he wouldn't mind. And 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 we were thinking about ourselves. How dare I? Who am I? Who's gonna pay? How dare I not? How dare I not put what God's put in my heart? How dare I not leverage this pain instead of wasting it by bringing the hope, embodying hope for those who are in it right now?
Yeah.
How dare I not? We have a mission in this earth. And if something is like in your heart telling you just do it. Go. And sometimes we think that what's encouraging it is our desire to get out of the day to day or make more money. Maybe that's what you're thinking is like exacerbating this desire inside of you, but that's just how it's dressed up as. There's something bigger inviting you to just come and share that explosion of wisdom that lies within all of us and that can inspire growth and even save lives. This can save lives. This work that we all do can save lives just by
And
changing the way we
just
think and view it.
those 3 words, right? How dare you? Meaning you've got this life-saving thing, right? It's this really treasure out of, again, diamond from ashes, right? This treasure, you have it, that can completely transform other lives, help others find their way through what they don't see a path through. You've got it. And for you to not share that is a selfish act. And I say this to speakers so often. If you're nervous in front of a crowd, it's because you're thinking of yourself too much. The moment you start thinking of the audience, the moment it becomes about that transformation, you can't get nervous like that. It just goes away. Of course, those initial jitters are going to be there anytime you walk into a big situation in front of a bunch of people, but it quickly just dissipates when it becomes about those who you're speaking with versus yourself. Another thing I always say to my speakers, or anybody who comes to me for advice on speaking, I'm wondering if you have a different take on this. So, because it was so raw and so new when you went from that tragedy to actually speaking, and maybe those priests' words healed to the degree where you were ready. But I always encourage my speakers to speak from their scars, not from their open wounds. Like the last thing you want an audience is to feel sorry for you. You basically lose any power when they're sitting there feeling sorry for you. They can have empathy, but in the end, you're exciting them, you're showing them your victory, and that's what excites them. How did you get from the place where you were healed up enough to be able to speak on this topic?
It took a minute. It didn't happen immediately. That's why I say that the first step was to live it and embody it so that then I could share it. And I it was a journey, Antoniette. It was a journey. My focus was with the basics first. To be I wanted to be happy again. I wanted to honor my daughter through love, legacy, love, service, and gratitude. And I wanted to shine my light on behalf of her to keep her memory alive, right? So how do I keep her memory alive? That inspired me to continue on. And I started at home. My Because of my background, I knew that a lot of parents who lost a child would forget about the other children. And there's something called the surviving child syndrome, the surviving siblings syndrome.
Um,
And I vouched to never allow for my children to feel that, to like love on them really hard. I was gonna love on them, and I was gonna be there for them. And I had a 1 year old at a time that I was still breastfeeding, and I remember taking care of him when I could barely take care of myself, and offering that. It was, I set an intention, and I offered that, and I'm like, I'm gonna love on you, and I don't know how I'm gonna take care of you and keep you safe, but I'm here. And I would get up with that intention, and sometimes I couldn't get up. That it wasn't enough, strong enough. But I always went towards that route. That was my North Star. So I started at home, and I do a video for my husband every Father's Day with kind of like a compilation of all our moments as a family, especially with him and the children. And when I was doing that Father's Day compilation in tears the whole time, I remember like sitting down and seeing all the moments of joy that we had the first year, moments of joy, moments of hope, moments of pure love. And I was like, wow, like, and that's where I recognize that it wasn't me alone. That's why I don't think we can reach our greatness without tapping into faith, into the God within, that highest self within us. Because when I looked back, I was like, I couldn't do that. I didn't have it in me.
yeah.
But someone bigger, something bigger than me could. And there it was, evidenced in our videos and pictures. So I started at home and with my clients, because my one-on-ones, and in my church, I would go to retreats and I would speak whenever they asked me to. And that's how like the speaking started. I didn't even know speaking was a career, right? Like I didn't know it was a thing. And then when I became aware through my volunteering experiences, I just started realizing that I was being called to share it in a bigger audience, with a bigger, like with more people. And we think that speaking is only in a stage, but for us speakers, we get to speak in workshops that we create. We get to speak in webinars. We speak in social media and videos, in lives. It's all speaking, and you're curating your message and your gift and your secret sauce, which for me is that psycho spiritual, that combination. And and eventually it just it just grew. So it went from it being at home, me walking the talk at home and preaching at home and speaking at home. That's why my husband wants me to shut up. To small groups, all the way until now get paid for speaking. It's amazing, right? So it inspired me to write a book also, right? So I wrote my book, which is in my mind another form of speaking, because I'm speaking the written word into papers to be able to reach the masses, the audiences. And for the speaking career, writing a book also supports you, because it's almost like a business card, right? It gives you
Yeah.
that credibility. So it grew organically and intentionally, I should say. It wasn't a coincidence. I had a North Star. I'm honoring my daughter through love, service, and gratitude, and I'm keeping her memory alive through the work and service that I do. So she inspired me to be it, to become the speaker before I was even paid. And I think that's important for our audience, because sometimes we're like, I'm not a speaker until I'm in a big stage with, getting paid big money. No, If there's something my coach taught me is like, yes, you are a speaker right now. That workshop that you did with 5 cats, like 3 cats, like just a few people attended, that was you being a speaker. She helped me change my mindset where I was able to be, embody, become the speaker before I was paid a dollar for it. And once you believe it, it's like it's that faith part. Once you believe it, once you be it, and being it means you think like a speaker, you believe what a speaker would believe, you feel like a speaker, you feel worthy of people listening to you and investing on you for you to share your message. Once you be that, it's just a matter of time before you act like one, therefore attracting that very abundance of opportunities that we attract. But sometimes the the, the society's model of success is have to be. I have the speaking gig that they're paying me for, then I do things that speakers do, and then I be and feel like one. And the spiritual model of abundance is be, do, have. Be it first. Be the speaker, be the hope, be your message. Just shine your light first. And as you be it, you will act according to what you believe, what you think, what you feel. And that will attract the opportunities all the way to the point where you have it. But if you think about it, the reason we want to have things is because we ultimately want to feel a certain way. We want to have money so that we can feel abundance and do all the things we want to do. We want to, it always goes back to being. Like what the reason we want to have is because we desire to be, to feel, to experience, to embody. So if you start with being, you won. The rest is icing in the cake, and it will come to it's inevitable. Success is inevitable when you believe that it's already yours. It's yours for the taking. But we get impatient and we let the outside world, the opportunities that are already expressed into our reality or not, define whether or not we are a speaker, we are a good one, we're worthy of being listened to. Just be it already. Be it now. And you'll be irresistible and success will be inevitable.
Fabulous. I really hope that nobody glosses over what you just said because there was so much wisdom. Talk about brain tattoos. One previous guest talked about brain tattoos. Tattoo that one on your brain. There was so much there, but the fact that you be to have versus have first and you become that thing later, right? Be to have versus have to be. That's brilliant and so incredibly defining with regards to who really makes it in the speaking industry and who doesn't, who buys all the gadgets and polishes everything before they put it out there versus the person who just starts sharing humbly, authentically, real. Yeah, get some framework, get some direction, but just do it before you're perfect. If we've learned anything from the lockdown and the pandemic and all of that, we should have learned this one thing, that scrappy's the new perfect, right? Let's just not put on any false airs, be authentic, be real, and your people who are laying awake at night praying for those solutions that you've already discovered through what you've walked through, you get to be there for them, right? One day of delay can equal a life. So, what you just said, Dr. Betsy, is just so many pearls of wisdom that you just gifted to our audience. And I appreciate it deeply. This is hard earned for you. Tell me a little bit. You talked about, you've said this a couple times. I want to make sure I'm tracking with you. You said you have to live it, you have to embody it. What is it? What do you mean by that?
First it was hope. I had to embody hope. I had to live the pain with hope so I could be hope for the people I was serving. And I always distinguish between pain and suffering, Antoniette, because pain is, Haruki Murakami says, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional.
Mm.
And to me, pain is the path to healing and joy. It's that process, that journey, not the destination. Pain is the process through which we heal and find joy again. And in the process we grow and we become resilient, and we experience a whole lot of blessings if we're paying attention. And suffering is when you view and experience pain as the end all be all. I think it was John Lennon who said, everything will be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end.
Mm.
And I knew that. I've always been a woman of faith. And my friend says that the first thing I said in the eulogy when I spoke at my daughter's celebration of life was, I am a woman of faith. I don't remember that, but she says that like shook her, because I had never been more broken, and yet I stood up straight and tall. And the first thing that comes out of my mind is, I am a woman of faith, which implied I know I'm going to be okay. I didn't think that conceptually, but something bigger and deeper knew that
Yes.
when I couldn't stand, like it would hold me. So when I, like, people were watching, my kids were watching, starting with them. So I chose to live and honor my pain, because feeling is healing, right? Like, people talk about healing, and what is healing? Feeling. Feeling is healing. Pain is the journey. It's the healing journey, right? So when I say I had to go through it and I had to feel it in order to embody it, it was that pain with hope that would lead me to that joy that was inevitable for me, because I had chosen it.
Yes.
And I when I distinguish between pain and suffering, for those listening who may be experiencing some form of adversity, I invite you to consider to view pain as a fertilizer. What are fertilizers made of? Poop. Fertilizers are made of poop. Pain feels like crap, and it stinks like it too. But very much like the fertilizer, pain nurtures you and strengthens you and helps you give like fruit and nutrients. And it just it's pain is a gift. Pain is a fertilizer. It just doesn't feel very good while you're enduring it, but if you experience pain as a fertilizer, you experience it with hope. You're like, oh my gosh, this really sucks, but I'm going to be so healthy and strong. And I'm going to give the best flowers and fruits when I come out of this, because this really stinks. Right? Like, so there's hope in that perspective.
And
You
what
are
does that what
experiencing.
does that fruit do, right? It nourishes other people and it brings them into a stronger place for themselves. They get the nourishment, they get to view the beauty. So all of that happens because you went through the SHIT. you grew through you grew
Absolutely.
through it, right? So I know there's a good number of our audience that's going to need to know how to get a hold of you. What are some of the best ways?
Betterwithbetsy.com. Is,
Betterwithbetsy.com.
yes, because life is better with Betsy, Antoinette. I promise you.
I've experienced that. So yes, I'm
And
fully behind that one.
that's also my social media. On LinkedIn, I'm as Dr. Betsy Guerra, but I think if you go to Better with Betsy on LinkedIn, even you can find me. So Instagram is my main platform, Facebook. And I also have a website, faithbasedcoachingacademy.com. And
Faith-based-coaching-academy.com. Great.
And if somebody wants to hear a little bit more on how to rise above adversity, you can go to faithbasedcoachingacademy.com/faith. And out there, I'll give you the 5 step. They talk about the stages of healing. I
Yeah.
talk about the stages of healing and rising. So those are the
Healing
five,
and rising.
the five
Okay.
steps to heal and rise above any adversity.
Because
And
what's good about healing if you're not rising also?
absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
So,
Will
yes.
you leave our audience? You know that this is Speak Pact, and this is our pact together to make an impact. And those who come to the Speak Pack show want the same thing. What is one thing that you can give them that they can go out and do tomorrow or today, right? That will really change the dial and not just the impact that they're making, but also make it sustainable by the income that they're making. You had mentioned all the different ways that they can approach their voice through a book, through workshops, through other people's stages, through their own stages, through podcast, like so many different ways. How do you choose? Where do you start? What is just something that you have already done, you already understand that maybe a newer emerging speaker doesn't quite get yet?
So I would say there's so much I could tell you, but I am going to choose this one. Visualize this. You have been assigned to thousands or millions of people. You've been assigned. Of all the billions of people in the universe, you have been assigned to people who are where you once were. And you are the only person that can relate and connect so deeply with that person. So you're it. You're the one assigned to all these people. So visualize all these people lined up outside your door. And when it's raining, they're getting wet. And when it's winter, they're freezing. And when it's summer, they're burning in the sun, right? Like but they're waiting for you. And if you could have that image always in your heart and thinking like, my people are waiting for me. How can I show up for them? What does opening the door to for them to come in and get warm is if it's super cold, or get some AC if they're burning in the summer, right? Like if you could change your mindset from the scarcity of like, who's going to pay for me, there's not enough people, there's too many speakers out there, one more. If you could change the mindset from scarcity to this abundance of like, oh my goodness, all these poor people are outside waiting and I'm here not showing up for them. So my first invitation is visualize that. They're waiting for you because you are their person. And number two, when you have any, because you're going to visualize this and you're going to believe it, because we're going to work on being that, every time you tell anybody about what you speak about, you're going to grow and build your confidence in this state of being, right? We're working on
Mhm.
be first. And when you convey that message, since you know they've been praying for you and you're their answered prayer, you're going to exude more confidence than you have right now when you're stuck in your head thinking scarcity thoughts. So, my invitation is first have the vision, the visualization of these people who are assigned to you waiting so that you may show up for them. And that will train your subconscious mind to look for the opportunities. So, every time you hear someone, you're like, oh my goodness, I could totally help your team. Like, why don't you invite me to speak? Or, hey, I'm willing to do one free talk so that you can to elevate your team, because I really, really believe in what your business is doing, and I believe in whatever, right? Like, there's so many ways in which we could get our foot in the door to have the opportunity, but you're not going to see those unless you believe that those people are out there waiting for you. How dare you not? So just engage with that visualization and connect with your responsibility of showing up for the people who await.
How dare you not? That's another quote that we're going to use.
I
And
got that
quote
from my
Dr.
coach.
Betsy.
That's from my coach, Luli B. I have to give
So
her
we'll
the
borrow it twice.
credit.
You know, this has been a rich experience. You have brought so much real, tangible wisdom to us today, Dr. Betsy. Thank you. Just thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to keep my daughter's memory alive.
Ah, yes. Yeah, what a beauty she continues to be.
Mm.
So, for all of you who have gleaned from Dr. Betsy's wisdom and from our time together today, bring flowers by giving us those 5-star reviews, the big likes. Reach out to her. Dr. Betsy, say that?
Guerra.
um, Again, so make sure to reach out to her. Let her know that you've impacted her life. Leave comments. It makes a huge difference in helping other people find their way to this wisdom that they are also seeking. Thank you for being with us today, and ciao, ciao for now.